So in our examination, if we determine that the athlete does not have sufficient internal rotation, so he has loss of internal rotation, what's called GIRD, glenohumeral internal rotation deficit, there's some certain stretching techniques that we can utilize to try to enhance that internal rotation. Because we know the total range of motion has to be equal bilaterally. Typically, it's not external rotation that's limited. Typically, it's going to be a loss of internal rotation. So for me, instead of just having the athlete stand there and try to stretch across his body, his scapula moves. So you're not going to get a nice stretch of the shoulder joint. Although if you're trying to do a self-stretch, it's actually not a bad one. Actually, some of the research has shown that's actually the best stretch to do if they can only do that on their own. One of the stretches that I prefer to do when I have my patient in front of me, or if the athletic trainer working with the team can do it with them, is to just bring them in a horizontally adducted position while I stabilize the scapula. I want to stabilize the lateral border of the scapula so it doesn't move on the rib cage. And then I bring the athlete's shoulder across until I get to an end point. And what we want to feel is a stretch in the posterior aspect of the shoulder. I'll always ask them where they're feeling it. If they're feeling it on top, that's more of an impingement position. We don't want to ever stretch through an impingement position. So I'll stabilize lateral border and I'll bring it across. If he feels a stretch in the back, great. If he doesn't, I can rotate a little and push towards the opposite shoulder, maybe the opposite axilla, and try to enhance the stretch that way. If the stretch is still not felt, what we sometimes have the athlete do is bring it across, and then he can take his other hand and gently push down into internal rotation. And he can feel that stretch right now, right in the back of the shoulder. He told me earlier he feels that stretch. He hasn't been doing a lot of stretching on his shoulder, so this is actually going to help him out. So I highly recommend that he incorporates this stretch into his throwing in our rehab process. So again, getting a nice stretch in the back of the shoulder is critical. So any techniques you can utilize to enhance that stretch is going to help out your patient.